Like, we weren't a couple and I met his son, but you had all kind of people around him?
No.
Oh, okay. I had to you ask these questions. It's kind of late.
Really?
Kind of late for that.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of House of Ways and Means. Today we are still talking about Black love. So it's the holidays. You're going to be around people's in-laws if you're in a relationship. You're going to be meeting people's families maybe for the first time. Maybe you're well acquainted. What happens when disagreements happen between the in-laws and your significant other, or your family and your significant other? What do you do?
So, I do not think that this has actually happened to me. Granted, I've only introduced my family in my adulthood to maybe one person. That was you. I don't think I introduced anyone else. No, they've met high school boyfriends. This is not the same thing. But even in that situation, I didn't have my parents insult my boyfriend. But if my family insulted you, I would be, first of all, I would be shocked. Okay, I would be shocked and bewildered because my family is not like that. Like, my mom, she's very honest. She's Trinidadian, so she would just come and be like, well, I can't believe he said this X, Y, Z, and the third. But she'll say that to me directly. She's not gonna come to him and say something unless I'm like, you should talk to him directly about it. Then she will go to you, but she's not gonna insult you in the middle of everybody. I mean, I haven't experienced it, so I don't really know. But what about you? Have you experienced that?
No. I mean...
Your mom is too sweet for that.
Well, I mean, I do recall a situation where I had family members who I brought somebody around, but it was informal. It wasn't like holidays or anything like that. But I think the family member was caught off guard. And so that's probably, if I had to do it again, that's something I would have changed, just because you don't know when people respond when they don't expect something to be coming. I mean, what happened wasn't egregious, but the young lady walked away feeling like she wasn't liked, and yeah, I regretted that. But I mean, I do think, my family's similar to the way you described yours, where we have a certain level of couth. We're not just gonna go, making a scene or anything like that. Like, it's not gonna be like one of those black holiday movies where everybody's like, it's like this moment where somebody's storming off and the men are like trying to, make peace in the situation. Why you gotta say that? Why you gotta act like that? I think that if someone in my family had an issue, they would come to me privately. So, I do think, as a piece of advice, if you know your family to be a certain way, because I think, you should know if your family is a certain way.
If your family is.
I think that you should, just do that ahead of time. Like, hey, this year I'm bringing her. I know you don't know her that well, or maybe you don't like something about her that I've told you previously, but if you have something to say, come, talk to me on the side, pull me aside and say, whatever. Now, that's not everybody's family is close like that, unfortunately.
Yeah,
I think that my family is close enough that where I felt like there might be tension over a certain thing, I'd give them fair warning ahead of time that, hey, this is the situation, or I would request before I even get there, send a text message, sent to the group chat or call or whatever, and say, hey, if you just feel like you can't hold it in, pull me to the side, and I'll give you my ear for a second. But just don't make a scene, because bad relationships with in-laws is a red flag to the point where people will just end situations because they're like, I'm not gonna go down that path. And some people feel so strongly about their relationship with their families that they'll, out of fear of long-term strife, maybe end the situation before it really gets a chance to start, because they don't want to always be at odds with their family. So
Not even mention that. That's actually a good point because I didn't consider that completely. So before we got married and as we were dating, you had a son, right? You still have a son. You still exist. And
It's an adult now. Just
that's about, dude is like 30. He's not 30, but so I remember when, and this is one of the things that you told me from the very beginning. I wouldn't even say that our relationship was serious. Would you consider our relationship serious when you told me about him? I think it was just something that you flippantly.
no, I mean, you met him pretty early before we were even like
official.
a couple.
Yeah. Like we weren't a couple and I met his son, but you had all kind of people around him?
No.
Oh, okay. I had to ask. You ask these questions. It's kind of late.
Really?
Kind of late for that. But anyway, so in my relationship with him, pretty early on in the relationship, I learned that he had a son, and it dawned on me that it was something I needed to consider before I took the relationship any further. Granted, we weren't like in a committed relationship or anything like that yet, but and I don't know why you. I don't know why did you tell me that you had a son at that point? Because it was, I think you told me.
I don't think it was that early. I mean, by the time we met, I mean, he was already solid 4 or 5 years old. I mean,
So when I met him, he was 4. I think he was going to be turning 5.
yeah, so I mean, it wasn't a secret.
Well, right. I mean, right.
I knew you well enough. Like, we weren't dating, but we knew each other from church. I mean, it wasn't like,
Okay.
even if we didn't ever become some long-term thing, it was just like information. Because he was coming for the summer.
Oh, okay.
So if
maybe you were
spent
laying the
the summer, he
groundwork.
spent summers with me. I mean, you're
So
gonna.
maybe you were laying the groundwork so that I was aware of the fact that he would be coming.
Yeah, to me, it didn't. It
didn't
wasn't a
matter?
huge deal.
Okay.
I mean, now there was situations that I was in where I met somebody and it was immediately like, hey, I'm gonna look to date her or whatever. Like we instantly, or maybe we were hooked up or whatever, where it was okay. Well, let me say this. So me and you, we kind of had a long history of just kind of knowing each other as acquaintances before we went any further than that. So
Yeah.
it wasn't some secret or
It
something.
was, yeah. And it didn't come off as though it was a secret, but it just kind of, he mentioned it and I was like, oh, he has a son. And I was like, he has a son? Because you always like think about like, when you're in a relationship or when you're thinking about like a long-term relationship, and granted, like you said, we weren't like going into our friendship thinking that we were going to be dating and this was it, so this is something that was important. But it was something that I like filed away, and later on throughout the course of our relationship, that was one of the things I thought about. This relationship, how would it affect me? What if his son doesn't like me? How would this affect our relationship? Would we be able to work? And these things are all important to consider when you're thinking about marrying somebody or being with somebody for the rest of your life. Like you said, but if your family didn't take me in, or if I didn't feel comfortable being there, I probably would have had some second thoughts about the relationship. I do remember an experience, an ex of mine, and I felt like his mom didn't like me. I don't call his name, but I felt like his mom didn't like me. And to me, it was very obvious. I don't think she hated me. His dad loved me, but I felt like it just was a thing. I could feel like a little bit of the tension. I just feel like I wasn't a preferred person that she had hoped that her son would like date, and he and I had been dating for years at that point. So I guess I have had an experience with that, and I'm married to you, and of course I wouldn't change that. But if he was someone I was dating in my adulthood, that relationship between me and his mom would be a determining factor as to whether I would even want to be with him.
Yeah, I mean, some people, and I think it depends on who you are, they really need to be liked. I mean, I'm not someone who like, I want to be liked, but I'm not sad or upset if there are people who don't like me. It's, somebody isn't gonna like you. That's just life. I don't live my life to make sure that other people like approve of me. I embrace that role. In fact, sometimes where I'm the argumentative guy, I'm saying things that are controversial, people don't like it, whatever.
He's so controversial.
I mean, I relish that role sometimes, but I do think you have to really know where you stand and be honest with yourself about who you are. Because if her family doesn't like me, or she has family members who don't like me, as long as they keep their distance and that they're not going to be calling in the middle of the night telling her to leave me or all that, if they can respect the fact that we've decided to be together, I don't see a reason to let that affect whether or not
Can you imagine if one of my family members called me and I'm like, girl, leave him.
People are all, you have people always talking about, oh, I got to see my in-laws, it's going to be this hard, stressful thing. I mean, as long as a person, because I've been around people who don't like me, and or we've had situations in the past that have affected our relationship now. I mean, as long as you can maintain your cordiality, your respect when you're around a larger group, that's fine. I mean, I'm not gonna carry on this fight with you or whatever and create this tension, this awkward situation for everybody else around.
But I think too, I feel like it's difficult for us, because I've seen some situations where moms, women, we have such a bad rap. Why do we do this to ourselves and to our children? I've seen women, mothers, who would not allow their children to date certain people. Typically, it's moms with their sons. They don't want their sons dating this particular girl. She dresses this kind of way, or she looks this way, or she sounds this way, or I don't understand. I mean, it's one of those things, but I get it. We expect certain things. We have these expectations for our children, but at the same time, we have to respect them and love them enough to recognize that we have instilled in them certain information and knowledge so that they can make their own decisions about their relationships that they enter into. And we just have to pray for the situation as opposed to just making decisions or saying things, because then what we end up doing inadvertently is sowing these seeds into the minds of our kids about the relationship, and it then affects the relationship with that person that you're talking about, and then also future relationships. And then you wonder, well, why aren't you married yet? It's because you made it seem like nobody's ever enough, or that I'm not enough for this relationship. And I feel like the family members, we need to watch our own positions, play our positions, because we try to step out and play all these different positions, and we can't be the QB and the linebacker and the receiver and the run. We can't be everything. In relationships, when you think about relationships in the grand scheme of things, everyone in the family, they have a role. Everyone in their family has a place. So we can't play every position simultaneously. That's absolute burnout.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't put the onus fully on mother-in-laws and let father-in-laws off the hook. I mean, I do think, in general, my experience being a man and being around men, we generally like to just keep the peace, unless something actually happens. Because if something say I'm a man with a daughter and she's married to a guy and he cheats on her. Or maybe he's on a work trip and he misses the birth of the child. I mean, I think that when a father sees their child be hurt, then they go into protection mode. And that can lead to some strife with the in-law from that point on, where it's like they won't give them a chance, or they will automatically, think the worst, and from that perspective, it can affect the relationship through time. Whereas maybe the daughter or the son has forgiven the other party for something that happened in the course of a relationship, but maybe the father-in-law has not let it go. And those are things that I've seen.
If something like that happens in a relationship to your child, to your son, or maybe to one of your siblings, or to even to a parent, if something happens in the relationship and in their relationship with their significant other or their spouse, their partner, whatever, do you think it's important to speak to them about it or to talk to them about it? Like, how would you feel about it? Because here's my take on it. I feel like when I share certain things with certain family members, they end up taking the ownership of whatever that issue is and they try to fix the issue. And for me, it's like, you kind of like you stay in your role until your position, because like you said, I could end up forgiving you for whatever it is, but they never will. And then every time we have a family trip, I have to be like, oh Lord, here they go. And it's always this like heated situation between them because they both know that the other knows about whatever it is that happened. Do you feel like it's important to share when things happen? Or do you feel like it's a place for forgiveness if you were ever on the receiving end of information that probably should not have been shared?
Well, it's up to each individual family. I mean, for some people, their family is their support system. So, of course, they're going to say certain things because they need to get them off their chest. Mm-hmm. And they may not be able to talk to, a significant other at that point in time. But, I mean, I do think it's good for your family to maintain their independence where it's like, hey, I understand that you guys are in a situation, and I'm going to let you guys figure it out. I mean, I've had situations in the past that maybe we've been in, or, talk about my son and his mother, where it's like we've both maybe gone to my family and they've heard our side. My mother is always quick to say, hey, I'm not going to get in between this. You guys have to figure this out for yourselves. And I mean, that's ideal, unless it's something that's egregious going on, where maybe even the other party, the spouse doesn't know. Maybe your mother-in-law is coming to information that, I don't know, this person's doing this out in the streets, and this, my daughter, my son doesn't know. I mean, that's a little bit different of a situation. But I mean, if it's a situation where you have two mature adults working through an issue, then you should just trust that they can figure it out the same way that you've maybe figured things out in the past in your relationships.
Like you said, it's good to have family support, but I can't see how that family support could end up being a double-edged sword on the flip side as well.
Oh, it could be a double-edged sword, sure. I mean, just real quick, I know, and I'm sure you've seen this before, sometimes when your siblings, not your mother-in-law, father-in-law, but the brother-in-law, sister-in-law situation, sometimes your brother-in-law, if you're, like, for instance, you have brothers, so it's sometimes the brothers and the male spouse get so close, they'll eventually supersede the relationship that you have with your brother. So, your husband and brother-in-law might be out in the streets getting in trouble together, and nobody tells sister-in-law. I know you've seen that before. I've seen that before. Shenanigans,
CD, I tell you. I've seen it. I want no parts of that though. If I see you, I'm like, I know you. I see you. I see your wife in church. Don't you ask me any questions about my relationships and love and stuff like that. You don't need to know any of my business because you have your own business, your own marital business. So mind your black man married business. And I'm gonna mind my single woman black business. How about that?
Alright, y'all, we're getting out of here. Hope you like this video. Remember, as always, if you like the content, give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and we will see you guys later.